Welcome back to the Divine Hope community, where we restore hope and purpose back into the hearts of individuals who are seeking change. I am so glad you are here. I am Rebekah Hope, your host. Today, it will just be me. Per y'all's request, I was surprised that I was the only one that was requested when I put out the post on whose testimony y'all want to hear. But it also reminded me that I don't think I've actually shared my individual testimony on this group. So tonight, y'all are going to hear from me and just me. I'm going to go over some things as far as kind of my testimony, but also my book. And then we're going to be talking about the details of the book talk. So get ready. You will hear some things that I haven't shared on here before, some things that are in this book, but I thought what better time than to share my testimony than when I share the details of our book study. So I will share all of the details about the book study in the end. What I'm actually going to do to share my testimony a little bit is kind of go chapter by chapter on my book. If you have never seen this book before, it is my story on how I was born and raised Amish and how I left at 17 years old with pretty much the clothes on my back and $20 in my pocket, and how I survived 12 and a half years later. Crazy to think about, but yes, it has been almost 12 and a half years. February of 2013 is when I left, and here we are in July of 2025. I had to think which month we are in, but yes, it is July of 2025, and hard to believe how fast time goes. The older I get, the faster time seems to go. But let's jump right in. Again, if you don't have this book yet, just comment and say that you want it, and I will send you a signed copy. You have the option of purchasing it on Amazon, but it will not be a signed copy. And as part of this book study, you will want a copy of the book if you have not read it yet. And if you don't have a copy of it yet, I would love to get you one. And I will be sending out a form as well for people to sign up if you want to participate in this. I had quite a few requests. I was surprised by the feedback that I got in how many people actually wanted to do a book study on my book. It didn't really cross my mind to even do a book study on this. Now, the book that I released last year, what was it, October or November of last year, I published this book. Now, this is a book I could do a book study on. It is full of poetry, and it was actually written for this group specifically. So definitely a book I could do a book study on, but I had more requests for my first book, my story, and hopefully this is also a jump start to me sharing more of my testimony. I used to do more of that on stage than I am doing currently. So maybe this is my way of getting back on stage and just sharing more of the things that I have overcome, the things that were meant to be shared with the world for hope and encouragement, which is what I do. A little bit about this book is it has 9 chapters. So this will be a 9-week study. We're going to do 1 chapter per week, and we're just going to read the chapter, and then you write down the questions that you have, that you would like to ask the author, me, and then when we get together, we will discuss those. You can ask any questions, maybe things that aren't even, you were reading the book, and questions you have about my life now. You're welcome to ask any questions that you would like, and that is what the study is going to be for, so that I can answer those questions for you. So wanted to make that available to you, but a little bit about the book. We're gonna just go through it a little bit. So chapter 1 is about my early childhood. So some of my earliest memories. I remember being a big help to mom. The first year that I really remember was also the last year before I went to school. I was around 5 years old, and I have 3 older sisters. So that last school year that I was still at home, my 3 older sisters were in school, and so I was the oldest at home, and I just remember that period of my life being very there were a lot of new things, a lot of learning new things that I've carried into my adulthood. One of the first things that I remember is cooking a meal for me, my parents, and my then 2 younger siblings. So, a family of 5. I cooked my first meal at 5 years old, and I just remember being extremely impressed by, look, mom, look what I can do, and feeling like I could contribute to the family. And of course, I messed up. I forgot to put sugar in something, I think, and I just remember my dad kind of chuckling when he tasted the food, and I immediately knew that I had missed something. And so, after a moment of pride that I actually pulled this off in uh, preparing a meal for my family, uh, I was immediately disheartened because I realized that I had messed up. It wasn't perfect. But with that, I also remember I had that I have to be perfect. If I want to be praised, it has to be absolutely perfect. And I just remember striving for perfection, which I feel like we probably all do to a certain level, but it was the desire to know that I did a job well. Like, this was a job well done, and getting that praise from my parents that I just never accomplished. To this day, I don't actually ever remember either of my parents telling me that I did a good job or praising me on that. But if you know the Amish culture, that is also not very common. It's just not common to for a parent to say I love you, or to hug your daughter, your child, or to tell them, praise them on their work. It was just not common, I guess. And that's definitely, the religious grooming and all of that. But I just remember desiring that as a little girl and feeling like I just never achieved that. But that's what I talk about in my first chapter. Um, Talk a lot about, those early childhood memories of helping my parents on the farm. My parents purchased a 100-acre dairy farm 5 months before I was born. So I was actually born on a farm in a 100-plus-year-old farmhouse. Yes, I was. People don't believe me when I say that, but I actually was. So I actually have a picture of the house that then was later built. So this is the farmhouse that was built. I think I was around 10, maybe 11 years old when we built this. My family built this house, and that was the family farmhouse. And I helped build it. I helped design it, and that was another joy that I had. I love designing things and building things, making something from nothing, creating stuff. So that was a great memory I had from my childhood. And then chapter 2 is I go into my days, 8 years of Amish school. That is all we got. I grew up Swords and Trooper Amish. So all we got was 8 years of education in a one-room country schoolhouse, 8 grades all in one room, averaged around 20 students per. Then one teacher. Sometimes the teacher would have one helper, but actually don't remember that being very common in the school that I went, but I know it was more common in other schoolrooms that had maybe more than 20 kids. So sometimes they had that. But yeah, so 8 years of education. That's chapter 2. So I go through that experience, describe what that experience was like. And the first year was actually really great. I loved learning. I just what's the word? Inhaled things like a sponge. I loved learning. And I strongly believe I got that from my mom, because I remember her saying, you know, she didn't want to quit school at 8 years. She absolutely loved learning. And I definitely remember being that way as well. But then year 2 is when a lot of things changed. I learned what bullies were in school. I learned that kids didn't all desire to get along, and there were a lot of you belong or you don't belong. There was a lot of this group, that group. Everyone thought they were better than the other group. You know, you got to be with us and you have to qualify to be with us. Simple things like how you dressed. You know, if we didn't, my mom, well, both my parents really believed that you should use it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. So we wore clothes until they were worn out and then some. And for that, you know, we got made fun of a lot for in school. We seemed to always have the less expensive clothes. My mom, she made all of our clothes from by hand. She had a sewing machine and, you know, patterns. She would make all her own clothes, but strongly believed that we should wear them until they were worn out. So I remember having, you know, a dress was patches and all of that, just not necessarily ideal for a little girl who wanted to fit in and impress her fellow classmates. So got bullied for that a lot. And my weight, I was always quite a bit jubbier than my siblings were, and was compared to that a lot and made fun of for it. And I just remember becoming very self-conscious. I didn't realize I was quote unquote fat until I was told that I am, and then kind of became the joke in the school of, you're fat, you gotta lose weight. Oh, you gonna eat that? No wonder you're fat. And it just all of the jokes. I know I'm not alone in this. So if you've been through it, like, you get it. By the way, everything that I am sharing, I just want to emphasize the reality that it is not unique to the Amish culture. I used to think it is. I used to think after I leave the Amish, I would never experience any of this. And then I realized that humans are actually all really the same wherever you go. It's at the core, we're all human. And, you know, there's corruption and evil everywhere you go. So this is definitely not unique to the Amish culture. So I wanted to reiterate that. And yeah. So if you can relate, you don't have to have been Amish to relate. I'm aware of that. Actually, here I have a picture of the schoolhouse. I know it's not that clear, but maybe you can see it. Yeah, that was the playground. We didn't have a whole lot. we created our own fun. We created our own, just came up with games, you know. Didn't have a whole lot of resources, if you will. We had a swing set and then a couple other things, I guess, but just not a whole lot. So that about wraps up chapter 2. Man, I gotta get going if I'm gonna go through all of this. But I guess I should keep some of it for the book study, if we're gonna do the book study. I'll run through a few more. So, chapter 3 is titled Amish Farm Life. There, I go into detail of what it was like really to grow up on a 100-acre dairy farm as an Amish girl. And, everything was by hand or horse drawn, no electricity. So, I go into my experience of that. Which actually, I'm a farm girl by heart. I can dress up if I want to. I can adapt to the city life, but really, I'm just a farm girl at heart, and I would go back and live the farm life today if that was an option and if it made sense. It is something that I would love to do. It's something that I've always thoroughly enjoyed. So, chapter 4, I go into my teenage years. So it's titled Troubled Teenage Years. That is where I went into quite a bit of darkness. I actually titled it Troubled Teenage Years, Who Am I? And my quote underneath that is, the mystery of human existence lies not just in staying alive, but finding something to live for. And I remember when I wrote that, the reason for it was because I got to a point in my life where I questioned, if we were born just to then get to heaven, what is the point of our existence on this earth? There has to be something more than just achieving the ticket to heaven, if you will. What is my purpose here on earth other than making sure that I am right on the day that I die so that I can have eternal life with Christ? Like, it didn't quite make sense to me that I would exist only for that. So, that's where I came up with that quote anyway, and I have definitely found something to live for since then. We'll go into more of that, but yeah, chapter 4, I go into the darkness of, I know, again, I'm not the only person who experienced this when they were a teenager, but just completely lost as to who they were, trying to belong somewhere and having no clue where that was. So many unanswered questions, trying to find my way in life, and living for today. I became very rebellious against my parents, developed a lot of just bitterness and anger because of things that were going on in the home. Just a lot of I actually went into a deep depression. That was the darkest, the deepest depression at that point in my life. I developed an eating disorder and just had a lot of, again, maybe I should have started this video by putting out a disclaimer. So if you are triggered by this, reach out. I'm here to talk, but I had a lot of suicidal ideations and struggled with that for years to come after that. And again, if that triggers you, if that's hard for you to process, please talk to someone. I realized now, like today, like now, I know that was because I was in such a state of deception on my purpose and my reason for being, and the reason I was born. I was deceived into believing that there was no reason, and the pain that I was suffering, I believed that was, I was looking for a way to end the pain, not my life. I was looking for a way to end the pain and didn't see any other way than to end my life. But I now know that doesn't end the pain. So if you have ever struggled with that, just know that it doesn't end the pain. It really does not. it adds to it, it multiplies it, because wherever there is a seed sown, it multiplies, and out its fruit is more of what the seed that you sowed. So in that example, if you are trying to remove pain, ending your life is not it, because you are causing more pain by doing that. You're not bringing life. And I definitely want to talk more about that. I feel like I'm doing the book study by myself on here, and I want y'all to participate in that. I don't want to be the only one on and kind of ruining the book study, but I did want to share a little bit of my testimony, so that because I don't think I've done that on here yet. And I guess what I was trying to say with that is, I have learned that anytime a life is ended, it causes more pain, more darkness, and more destruction, because ending life is the opposite of who God is. He creates life, not ends it. And once I realized that, I then had to figure out, okay, well, what was the purpose of him creating that life? And chapter 4, again, I was a teenager. I was lost as lost could be. I, as the title says, was a very troubled teen. But I've learned a lot, and I am grateful that I have made it through that, because I know that not everybody is that fortunate. If you don't know, I am a 2-time suicide survivor, and today I see life through a new lens. It's one of those, you don't realize how much there is to life until you've experienced death. And it just gives you a new meaning. It gives you a new level of gratitude for being here, and realizing that we were not placed on this earth just to suffer. We were actually placed on this earth to not be affected by long suffering. We were to not be affected by the pain and the darkness that this world has and tries to offer us in deceptive ways. Like, we can actually be full of joy and happiness and peace, that everlasting peace by Christ. There is a possibility for me and you to live on this earth and not be affected negatively by the darkness and evil of the world, because Christ made that possible. We are to be like Christ, full of love. No matter what anybody else says or does, we are not affected by that. The only way we can be not affected by that is if we are full of love and light and joy. We are to be the light of the world. And anyway, wow, I got off on a tangent there a little bit, but that's a conclusion I have come to, and that is why I now see things a lot clearer than I used to, and I no longer struggle with suicidal ideation. So it is possible. If you are or ever have struggled with that, it is possible to not struggle with that. So I wanted to clarify that. And let's see, chapter 5, where am I? Oh, the fun part, leaving familiarity. So this is obviously where I then leave the Amish at 17 years old. I was 17 years old and did not know a thing about the real world. And when I say real world, I mean the American culture. I was so sheltered in the community I was raised that I knew virtually nothing when it came to the American culture and how things operated, if you will. You know, there was such a culture shock when I left. And I hear people talk about that when they move here from a different country, and obviously I didn't have to go through all of the legal papers and all of that, but there's so many similarities. Like, I can definitely relate to somebody who has been through that, and then on top of that, not having any family. um I left, and as a result had zero support from my family. So 17 years old, I mean, I'm telling you, I did it, but I would not recommend it for anybody, especially if they do not have a safe place to go to and somebody that can help them get on their feet or help them find their way in the culture, get to know the culture. For example, like my sister, she lives in the Philippines. She's married to a Filipino, and she wouldn't just go over there not knowing anybody and or anything about the culture and expect to survive. Now, she has the faith to do it. I'm sure she could, but it wouldn't be wise. But that's exactly what I felt like I did. I left, had zero resources, zero knowledge of the real world. I could barely operate a phone. Um, could not operate a computer. Didn't know what a computer was. Simple things like AC. I remember asking my sister, what does AC stand for? Do you think that's like where the air comes out? I'm sure she remembers this moment, but I literally, like, that was how naive I was to the modern world, is I didn't know what AC was. So we didn't grow up with it. So anyways, more on that in the book study. Let's go to chapter 6, New Beginnings. The choice is mine. And the reason I titled it that was because I realized really quickly that I had to choose. Am I going to continue and pursue the ways in this new culture and survive it, or am I going to return to what was familiar to me, what was normal to me, the only thing that I knew, and so that I have the support of my family, the support of my community, and to not make my parents look bad in the Amish community. Because when somebody has a child who leaves the religion, the culture, they are usually very much looked down upon by others in the community, because they're just, oh, well, you failed as a parent because your child chose to leave instead of getting baptized into the church. I specifically remember my dad saying one time that he feels like they have not done their job as parents until we are, meaning my sister and I at the time, because I have one sister who left the Amish as well, until we are baptized and sworn into the church. And because they believe that we're not going to go to heaven until we do that. So then I guess begs the question, when is parenting ever done if a child chooses to not ever get baptized? And I think if you are a parent on here, you probably know that parenting really does never end. And yeah, so having felt like I let my parents down and feeling like they still have not succeeded in raising me, an almost 30-year-old adult who has been on her own for 12 and a half years, that they still have not done their job as a parent in raising me because I did not submit to their religion and follow their instructions. But I yeah, chapter 6, I talk a lot about that, and then just how I learned how to ride a bike, when I got my first car, I got my GED, a lot of like new things that I learned. Got a job as a waitress at Culver's. It's my first ever job, and so I talk a little bit about that. I have some pictures in here showing that. And then chapter 7 is my original identity, finding myself. That was chapter 2 of, okay, now I have somewhat of a grip on what the American culture is all about, what the modern day world is all about outside of the Amish community. And after, I kind of got a grip on that, I was like, okay, well, now what? Feeling lost once again and not knowing which way to turn. I actually found there was a moment where I actually gave my life to Christ. And in that, I realized that that was the answer to about a million questions that I had growing up Amish and why I left. I was seeking for something but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that those who were in authority no longer had the answers to my questions, and they were supposed to be the wiser, the ones who are leading me and guiding me in which way to go in life. And when they could no longer answer the questions that I had that were very important to me at the time, such as, why do we do what we do as far as the Amish religion? Like, why are we required to do this and this? And I was reading the Bible and going, why are we required to follow one thing in the Bible but not the other one? Like, if the Bible is of utmost importance, then why is not everything relevant? So I found those answers after I gave my life to Christ. And I then became a follower of Jesus Christ, and I developed a relationship with him, and I found the difference. I identified the difference between a relationship and a religion. So while I am a Christian, I am not part of a religion. I don't identify myself with part of a religion. I identify as a follower of Jesus Christ, and that Christ lives in me, and I am to be that light to the world, because that is why I was created. And so I talk about the initial struggles I had in understanding a lot of things that came with being born again, and just how I kind of found myself and identified the differences between, oh, that's why the Amish do what they do. It's a religion, it's a belief, and while they might believe that they are right and justified in their ways, it doesn't mean that it's right for me. And identifying why it's not right for me, why I can't go back and live like that. And also finding that freedom in Christ, knowing that whether I ever have a friend again or not, Christ is going to be my best friend, and he's going to guide me and lead me in the ways that I'm supposed to go when I don't know the route. I don't know which direction to go or what to choose. He's going to show me that. And he has done that more ways than I will probably ever be able to speak of or identify, because that is just who he is. He has saved my life multiple times, and I am forever grateful for that. And that is also why I'm going to continue living with hope and purpose, and share that with other people and help them find that, so that they don't waste their entire life on this earth doing nothing, having no purpose, and just merely being alive, but not truly living. So it is possible, people. It really is possible. Chapter 8, chosen for life. Yes, I found Jesus before I attempted suicide. Some people would say I was backslidden, I found Christ and then I'm no longer a Christian. There's a lot of people say a lot of things. My understanding of the way things unfolded and why, and the things that I have learned from today is this. Nobody ends their life because they didn't want to live, but rather to end the pain and mystery caused from the lack of understanding life. I didn't understand. There were so many things I didn't understand, and I was so, one day I was on the top of the mountain, excited, happy, full of like, I know why I'm here, full of life and all that. And then the next day I just like fell into that deepest, darkest depression of, why am I here only to suffer? And that led me to then do this. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but I'm trying, people. I'm really trying. Just get the book. You can see it on there. The original book was a lot clearer. I don't know what they did when I had it. I made a couple of changes, a couple of grammar errors that I fixed, and something happened to the photos that they're just not clear like I wish they were. But yeah, so that was my first attempt, and the biggest thing that I learned from that was, it doesn't matter how far gone you think you are, or how hopeless you are, how lost or alone that you are. There is never, ever a place that God cannot reach. He can reach you, and he can help you, and he can help you get out of that, no matter how far gone you think you are. I was deceived into believing I was this far gone. I was deceived into believing there was no purpose left, and I was a hopeless case and nobody would miss me, and just all of the lies that somebody would believe that leads them to do something like that. It's a lie, and it's a deception that the enemy uses to prevent you from living in the purpose that you have been called for. That is all it is. I know there are some people, they use medications or use different things that maybe there's a chemical imbalance, but the bottom line is that we are being deceived into believing that we are worth less than what we truly are. Jesus died on the cross. He paid that price. He didn't pay a price we're not worth. The price he paid is what we are worth. And the price he paid for me is the exact same price he paid for you as well. Which means, if you think I am valuable to this world, then so are you. Look at one person in your life that you think is valuable, and you're, oh my gosh, they're just like, the world wouldn't know what to do if they weren't here. Well, guess what? You are of equal value to that person in Christ. Christ looks at everyone as equal value because he paid equal price for all of us. And if we are not living in the price he paid for, we're being deceived into believing we're worth less than what we are. That is ultimately what it comes down to. There is good in this world, and there is evil in this world. the more good we do, the more good we're going to see. And the more love that we become, the more love we are able to give. That's what we're here for. That is truly what we are here for. And if you couldn't do it, if you could not live that, you would not have been born. I'm telling you, I know this. I know for a fact that if you could not live that, you would not have been born, because that is the reason you were born. That is the reason you made it to earth. So anyway, sorry if that's too deep for you guys. I tend to get off on a tangent, and well, here is a picture. This is me outside of my very own first apartment by myself. This was the first time I ever paid my own rent by myself, like that my name was on a lease and I had a place that I could call my own. I was 19 years old. And I have moved countless times since then. I have purchased property since then. I have sold property since then and done all the things. But this was a moment that I knew I had to record, because it was the first time I actually felt like I had something to my name. And that was actually, this was the end of chapter 8, this photo. So that was the reason I ended it with this picture, actually, was because it signaled a new beginning. It signaled the end of a season and the beginning of a new one that was full of hope and purpose. I had just found, for the first time ever, a family, a church that I could call family, and started volunteering there and became part of the family, part of the church there. Just, it was a fresh start. It was a good start, and it was where I put down roots as far as figuring out who I am as a Christian and what it means to follow Christ. So with that, chapter 9 is choose your path, no regrets. And the quote I went with on that is from Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. I have heard that quote more times than I can count, but it has so much meaning to it. And now, as somebody who writes poetry, it has just, it feels like the first time I've read it every time I read it, because it's just, think about it. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Meaning, if I'm a good person, and this says good men, but man and woman, okay? If I'm a good person, but I do nothing, that is all I need to do in order to allow evil to trump, for evil to exist, for evil to take over. I simply do nothing. Think about that. That's not something I can do. I can no longer stand by and do nothing. I can no longer sit down, shut up, and do as I'm told. I have a voice, I have a purpose, and I know why I am here. To do good, so that evil won't triumph, so that evil won't take over the world. It may appear as though it already has, but there's still a lot of good in this world, and we need to focus on more of it, because we need more good. But if you see evil and you are allowing it to take over, is it possible that it's because you're doing nothing? If you are not an evil person, Most people would not consider themselves evil. If you believe you are a good person, yet you are doing nothing when you see evil, that is all you have to do in order for evil to take over. Do nothing. If you're okay with that, then continue your life, but I'm not. I'm just not. Not anymore. I know too much. I can't stand by. I can't just do nothing. So that is what chapter 9 is about, and it really I kind of leave y'all with some motivation, some encouragement on you can too. Look, I've done it. I've been there. I've done that. I figured it out, which is why I know you can too. I wouldn't be sharing it, and I am so sorry. I don't know why my nose is so itchy. Are y'all thinking a lot about me? Maybe that's why. We were always told it's because somebody's thinking about you. So I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Anyway, what was I saying? The last chapter is, I kind of just wrap it up with encouragement and motivation to tell you that you can too. It's a choice, and all you need in order to do that is already inside of you. You just have to go do it. But if you believe you don't have what it takes, then you're not going to see a solution. You're not going to know what to do. But the second that you believe, then you're going to start seeing answers, and you will know. You won't just believe. You will know that you can too. Make those changes. Whatever that change is that you want in your life, you can make that change. So I'm just going to wrap this up with... Gosh, you guys, are you thinking about me? Y'all must be thinking a lot about me. My nose just feels attacked right now. I don't know. Maybe because now I'm focused on it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up with the Bible verse that I have attached to this book. Again, if you don't have this yet, text, call, or comment. I can get you a signed copy before we start the book study, and I'll also be sending out a form to everyone so that you guys can fill out that form. That's probably going to be the easiest way if you are interested in joining us for the book club. It's completely free. All you have to do is get the book. But the verse that I chose is Isaiah 41:13, and if you have been in the Bible for any amount of time, you may already know this one. But it is, "For I, the Lord, your God, keep hold of your right hand. I am the Lord, who says to you, do not fear, I will help you." I can tell you, if I would not have had that verse and believed that verse, I would have given up a long time ago. But I know there is truth behind that verse. And I know my God is going to help me. He's already helped me, and he will continue to help me. Whatever it is I need, whatever answer I need in order to know what to do next, he's going to show me. I just have to trust, and I have to seek him, and I have to believe what he is saying. So that wraps up this book. I may have done an entire book study where you don't even want to join the book study now because I've told you everything. I don't know. No, there's a whole lot more that we could cover. And there is, write down your questions and we can cover those in the book study. But really quick, so the details of the book study, I wrote them down because otherwise I would probably not remember. But as I said, we have 9 chapters. So this is a 9-week study. We are going to start Monday, August 18th at 9 a.m. It's going to be a 1 hour per study. It's going to be a Zoom call, and we're going to do it all online due to convenience, and so that you guys can join us, because I know there's a lot of people from a lot of different places that are on here and wanted to join. So we are making that available to you. I will send out all of the details on that. And but yeah, Monday, August 18th is when we are going to start. It will be at 9 a.m. each time for 1 hour per session. The reason I'm doing it on Mondays is because there are some things that have changed in my personal life, and due to that, my availability has changed. So Monday, that time is really what works best for me, and I do apologize if that does not work for you. My intention is to record this and have it available for you guys to listen to if you are not able to join us. But yeah, those are the details, and I hope you can join us. In fact, if you are listening right now, whether you are listening live or replay, if you are interested in joining the book the book club, the book study, but you want more details, just put in the comments more details. If you are wanting to join and you don't have a book yet, just put in the comments Beyond the Brokenness. It's a long comment, right? The name of the book. If you want a copy, just put Beyond the Brokenness, and I will make sure that you get a copy. If you want to join the book club and you already have a copy, type in the comments, let's go. And let's go. So with that, I am wrapping this up. I look forward to seeing y'all at this book study. We will be on here next Thursday again, same time, same place, and then we'll continue the Thursday nights for now, and then what did I say again? August 18th. Monday, August 18th at 9 a.m. will be our first Zoom call for the book study, where we will discuss the first chapter. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So y'all have a blessed night, be kind to one another, and we shall see you all next week.